Hello, it's Joy Brooks with Email and Coffee. And today we're speaking with April Mullen about newsletters, which is a topic that goes way back for me. So, April, before we do talk about newsletters, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm the director of brand and content marketing at SparkPost. I've been a longtime email geek, but I haven't sent an email in quite a while now, and have kind of pivoted from it being an email marketer into working for companies that do email and really promoting email as a product. So I've had a little bit of an evolution in my own career. Also co-founded the industry group Women of Email, and that's how we met.
That's right. And what a great organization that is. Boy, it saves my life at least once a week, even if it's just to read an email and laugh. So, to review the topic, I went into my inbox and I went into the Wayback Machine
Yes.
to the year 2007,
Oh
where I
gosh.
noticed that I was interchangeably using the term blast and newsletter. And today, I think I would smack myself if I even used the term blast with a client. But the term newsletter seems to have uh, come back into vogue.
Yeah.
While it was any kind of an email at any point in time in 2007, now it's something very specific. So, when I used to talk to customers, and I'm reading from a fact sheet from 2009, um, we would say to customers, well, in your newsletter, you're supposed to make connections, you're supposed to stay top of mind, build trust, establish reputation and brand, and promote products and services, which seems to be exactly what we're doing today. So nothing's changed and everything has changed.
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes, that's what a newsletter does. Although I would say maybe the promotional product aspects, maybe not as much, but it really depends on the type of company you are. It's a lot more, I think, editorial in nature. I think newsletters, though, have a different place than they did back in 2009. Yes, a lot of the goals are the same, but its place in the digital channels has changed. And I think the reason it's come back in vogue is because, um, and this is something interesting that Massimo Aragoni had talked about. And I was just like, that totally makes sense. So I have to give him some credit for this thinking. But he had mentioned that the reason that email and email newsletters in particular have kind of come back in vogue is because of the job to be done. I don't know if you're familiar with the jobs to be done framework, but like what is the thing trying to do? Um, and what he mentions is basically the job of a newsletter is to give people the ability to come to content when they're ready to absorb it, when they have time for it. The inbox is this really organized, I mean, we might think our inboxes are messy, but think about that in comparison to like a social feed or all of the SMS messages you have. Like email, because it's been around for so long, it has this really great way of like the I think the mailbox providers like Gmail and Yahoo have done a good job of making it where you can organize it. They've even, like Gmail even has tabs separating social from updates, from primary, from the promotions tab, and it's it's organized for you. And it's like you can go to it when you get time. You don't have to respond to it. It doesn't disrupt your life. It's waiting for you. Versus if you think about social media, like the social feed, it's like if something comes through your timeline on social, let's say you're on Facebook and it's your news feed, or you're seeing something on your, on Twitter, if you wouldn't engage with it right then, you may not see it again. You might forget like who posted that or who tweeted that. And it's meant to be kind of these flash in the pan, like I'm going to engage with it in real time kind of content. I think SMS falls into that bucket a little bit. Like it's great for like this bi-directional communications between companies and even individuals with each other. But it's really difficult to like come back to it later. Real like I'm one of those people that if I almost kind of kick myself when I don't have time to engage with an SMS message, but I open it and then all of a sudden it doesn't show up as an unread message. So then I forget about it.
Mhm, mhm.
That doesn't happen to me with email. I can mark it as unread. I can come back to it. I can even flag a reminder to come back to it. So all of that like long nonsense basically boils down to, I think with all of these digital channels and all of this noise, consumers actually have quite a bit of control when it comes to email. And it's almost become the anti-news feed in that it's easy. You can manage it. It's not gonna, things aren't gonna float away. It doesn't interrupt you. And it's also, aside from like Gmail deciding that an email is going to make it to the inbox or not, or what folder it's going to make it to, it's largely non-algorithmic. So I also think people are really tired of algorithms determining the content they see. And so newsletters, I think, are having a day because people are mistrusting the information that they receive. So they go to sources that they trust and they say, I'm going to give you my information because I want you to send me something that I know I'm going to like. I think this is why a lot of like former journalists are now going to Substack and making a fortune, like selling their journalism, because people are like, I trust that journalist. I don't trust the big network. I trust that independent journalist, though. They're going to give me the truth. So yeah, that was a lot of talking.
It's come down to a personal newsstand.
Yeah.
You have your library where we use
Yeah.
our magazines and put them in the bathroom for when we would go to the bathroom, and then we read through our magazine or take our newspaper on the train or the bus or in the car or wherever, read it in the morning on Sundays. It's come down to opening up the tablet or looking on the phone or sitting beside your desktop and going through the news.
Yeah.
More news.
Your carefully curated news, the news that you have chosen to put in front of yourself instead of advertisements and random things you'll see on your news feed. It's different. It has a different job to be done. And I quite like that space. I think it's probably the healthiest space that email has been in. You're talking about back in 2009 and we called it blast back then. And like, that's not really, hopefully people aren't, I mean, I'm sure people are blasting. I definitely see blasts in my inbox. But I think we're in a really good time for email. It's the OG that continues to reinvent itself in ways that are meaningful to consumers and in ways that other channels can't, because they're owned by Zuck or they're owned by, Jack. And my dog apparently has opinions on this.
Owned by your dog. The thing is, the newsletter the format isn't for everybody. So you're not necessarily going to see a newsletter from Old Navy. I always like to bring up Old Navy. It's my favorite brand to discuss. So you're not going to see a newsletter from Old Navy, but you are going to see the newsletter format from those publications that offer a feed of curated information. So it can be, it can be on a particular topic. So, Gajapreneur can send you a newsletter. New York Times can send you a newsletter. Telegraph can send you a newsletter. Lots of businesses can send you a newsletter about their product, but that format will eventually wear itself out.
Yeah.
So it really is on a different, it's evolved. So let's talk a little bit about that evolution of where it was and where it is today.
Yeah, it used to be oh, newsletter. Let's just stuff everything we have to say or sell into a really, really long format and send it to everyone in our database or on our list.
Because everyone wants to know.
Everyone wants to know. It's the catch-all. Let's just put all sorts of things in this
There'll
newsletter.
be something for everybody.
There'll be something for everybody. Let's make sure that people don't miss a darn thing. Let's tell them about everything. And now I think it's something different. It's, again, I keep saying carefully curated. Your consumers, when they sign up for your newsletter, are doing so because you've carefully because they trust that you're going to carefully curate something. So you have to do that. You have to deliver something tremendously valuable to them. And so now it's kind of like, it's a lot more, I think, editorial in nature. It's a lot more, Old Navy probably wouldn't do this, but a lot of companies, even if they're in the business of being highly promotional and pushing commerce, often have content marketing teams that are tasked with producing thought leadership, like financial companies, B2B, like we do that all day long in B2B. Think about Litmus and their great content. I mean, they are a content powerhouse.
Right.
But what they sell is, they're not selling in their newsletter. They're talking about how to design for dark mode, how to code for the latest change at Gmail, things that are really helpful. So I think companies understand that it has to be this tool that is used that people are attracted to and want to go to see something new and interesting.
Right. Well,
or learn something.
So if I worked for Old Navy and they tasked me with creating a newsletter, I might say, well, along the lines of fashion, why don't we do some sort of a newsletter that talks about fashion, how to put things together, where things come from, how to dress for this event, how to dress for that event, what looks great, what doesn't look great. I mean, lots of different news story. So there is a way of doing it. It's just a different thought process that needs to carry over. It does need to be segmented. So you can't be sending guys emails about women's shoes.
Yeah.
You can't be sending a sports newsletter out necessarily that may or may not, a sport that may or may not mean something, cricket or something to the US or along the lines of different demographics liking different things. And that's why they signed up for the newsletter. So preference center of sorts, or something that they can pick and choose from. And then a very solid way in the back end to sort through all the news you've got and be able to give people what they want. So they're not getting 15 articles about everything that's happened today. Maybe they're getting 3 or 4 about what they want to hear about.
Exactly. And that's really where it exists to allow you to highly personalize the content you put in front of people.
And there are lots of ESPs that do that. If you don't have an ESP that does that and you're trying to write a newsletter and you're trying to do the right thing, we suggest you check out the better ESPs. Segmentation is very important. Now, of course, you could do that on the back end. You don't need to have an ESP to do segmentation, but it's just so much easier if you've got all that neat behavior in your ESP, because you could send something out on the fly. Anybody who's clicked in the past on X, let's send them a bulletin about this because it's breaking news, and everybody's gonna be excited to hear this news from us because we're our news brand. So do you have any favorite newsletters that you'd like to talk about?
I do. I have several, and for very different reasons. So I've long been a fan of The Skim, which clever name. It's literally something you can skim all of the day's news. So the co-founders of the Skim actually used to get up very early in the morning and look at all the world news, and they would summarize it into just teaser text and really brief human speak, like, you know, the Prince of Saudi Arabia did this, and here's what this actually means. Here's what it means in layman's terms. And they would say things like that, like almost like speaking to humans. And they built a massive empire, just creating a newsletter. I like the Morning Brew, and the Morning Brew actually sold for $75 million, I think in Q4 of last year or Q1 of this year. Just a newsletter, really good content, just very well thought out content. But then I also like things like every Monday I look for, and this is so cheesy, this is going to make me seem like super just superficial. But I love Refinery 29's Monday horoscope newsletter, where it's just like, oh, here's the weekly horoscope. It's just really fun. I don't really take it seriously, but I quite enjoy it. And then couple more. I'm a big newsletter dork, a newsletter geek, I should say. New York Times has a ton of really good newsletters. I've signed up for several of them. Some of their newsletters, interestingly enough, are very short-lived, like impeachment, for example. There was a special impeachment newsletter when that was happening, where it would only last during the impeachment trial, and then when the trial was over, that newsletter ended. So it was like these limited time newsletters. But I like The Morning by New York Times. And then the other one that I've been a subscriber of for years that I get every morning, I don't even know if it would be classified as a newsletter, but it's Harvard Business Review's Management Tip of the Day. It is a headline and it's teaser text that basically is just a quick tip on like how to motivate your employees or how to find really good talent. It's brilliant. It's just the snackable nugget. I'm fine with getting it every single day because it's valuable to me. So those are my faves.
As you go through those, I'm thinking to myself over the years, because I do hands-on, I sign up for everything. And my Yahoo box is the repository for everything. And I never unsubscribe, never. So as you're talking about this, I'm thinking to myself, should I open my Yahoo box and go through all the stuff I've got in there? But there are so many recipes that are fabulous newsletters.
Mm-hmm.
There's also tongue-in-cheek on both sides of the political spectrum, The Onion being one of them.
Oh, that one is hilarious. I love The Onion. Right? I love The Onion.
Right? There's I'm gonna open it up. We're gonna do this.
You know what? I think as you're opening that, Joy, I think one of the points here is I'll bet a lot of people are signed up for more newsletters than they realize. Because when I was going through this exercise to prepare for this conversation, I was like, oh goodness, I'm signed up for a lot of newsletters.
WebMD's classic over the years.
I do like that.
And then, the thing is, what's interesting is, I don't know if you would necessarily call it a newsletter, but Netflix has a very, very lovely format of telling you what's out there. So
it's newsletter-ish.
It's newsletter-ish. They match up what you've watched, and they tell you what's coming out that's similar to that. And they're doing a damn good job of it.
Yeah.
And, it's those innovations in email taking the newsletter to another level that's where we say email marketing is dead. Bloody not.
Mm-mm.
It just continues to evolve and find what did Max call them? Work of what was it?
Jobs to be done.
Jobs to be done. Email services jobs to be done in such a fabulous way that businesses continually reinvent what an email can do.
Yeah.
And even if we think there are particular groups of people that are not lined up or aligned to their inbox in the same way as other people are. So many people say, well, Gen Z is not like email oriented. They may not be, but as we're talking, I can guarantee you that there are those Gen Zs out there that are saying, oh yeah, I do read newsletters.
Yeah. And actually Gen Z, so I think it's a little bit of a fallacy that they don't engage with email. That is true to a point. And they're kind of like TikTok, Instagram until they hit college. Then they have to get an email address. And then when they start work, they have to have an email address. So then they do, as they mature, they actually do become more email savvy. And probably realizing like, okay, I can manage email better. So not everything can go through social media or SMS, that you do need that communication medium of email because there are specific things that it does really well.
Besides the fact it's a really, it's where I get my bills these days. So if I want to, stay solvent, look at my email box every once in a while and pay a bill, it's a good thing.
Right, exactly. Or know when your item's going to land, when you ordered something online or.
Oh, yes, transactional emails. I mean, those are, it's shipping, it's, change your subscription. We're sorry, we don't have that product. Would you like a substitution? You ignore it and you're going to get some kind of, you may not get anything.
Yeah.
You order something and it's just sitting in your inbox. Just tell us what you wanted instead, because we don't have any more of those things. Yeah, email, as you said, you might be a dork or a nerd. It is who we are, and it's a good place to be. And I have to say that every Monday when I wake up and I go to work, I'm really damn happy to be an email geek.
Me too. It's a really special community too. Like not just the channel. Obviously we love the channel, but the community is full of empathetic. I think empathetic because they know that like you have to be super targeted and personalized, and like it draws in the kind of people who want to do the right thing and connect with consumers. And it's a really special community. It's different than any other community out there.
It's a lovely combination of right brain, left brain people.
Yeah.
That are empathetic towards each other, because they collaborate with each other and they realize I'm very like organized and I code, but I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have this lovely genius designer on the right or left of me, because I can't design for the life of me. I make little straight lines. I'm just a coder.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Newsletters and email marketing. Another session of email and coffee. Do me a favor. Tell everyone where they can find you on the web. So if they'd like to connect with you, they can.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter at April D. Mullen. So I love being out on Twitter. I actually am probably more active on Twitter than I am LinkedIn, although I could probably be even more active on Twitter. I don't know. I'm struggling to manage all of my inboxes, if you will.
I've shortened my list to just Twitter, just LinkedIn, and just Facebook. I have an Instagram account, I have a Pinterest account, and I can't do anything else after that. I just can't. There's no more time in the day. You can often find me on my couch after 7 o'clock, reading a book, nerding out for the rest of the day that I have my eyes open reading epic fantasy. So there's just so much one person can do on the net. Of course, I am reading a digital book, but I've ceased to buy paperbacks many years ago.
I've been doing audiobooks. I like that format because I can multitask. I can, do the dishes or work out.
What's even worse for me is I read books and then I find communities that talk about the books. So I'm really geeking out on books, but
You're really committed.
epic fantasies like that, epic fantasies like that. Well, it's been about 40 minutes or so, and an episode of Email and Coffee wrapping up. Thanks so much, April.
Thanks,
Happy email
Joy.
marketing, y'all.